think one of my favorite things about drawing characters, especially in fantasy, is that I get to imagine them in my own way and get to dive into the characteristics and lore that has been built throughout the ages of the character, if they're old or new. And for today, I'm excited because I get to sketch out one of my favorites, Hermes, the messenger god. And welcome to Inktology. My name is Josh. If you enjoy mythology and ink drawings, please don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. That'd definitely be awesome. Out of all the Greek gods that I learned growing up, Hermes stood out as the coolest. He had the shoes that had wings on them, which kind of reminded me of the whole scene from Sandlot when they put on the PF flyers. I don't know why. And he had the helmet, and he was just, he was the messenger. That was his job. He was like the coolest mailman. And that's what I'm going to try to show right here by drawing him in a pose that's kind of angled. It's kind of like a sports pose, when a football player has his hand forward and the other hand back. I kind of wanted this pose to, show him bolting off, getting ready to dive into a different dimension. So I'm sketching him in this way and having him holding on a satchel, which will have the messages, some chain link, just reminders so I don't forget to make his clothing that, and putting in his overly large winged shoes, because to carry the human body, I imagine it has to be pretty big. Maybe even larger than that. But I'm going to start with that. Anyways, let's talk about one of the coolest Greek gods, Hermes, or Hermes, or Hermes. I don't know how you really say it, but Hermes is probably what a lot of people say. We see him best described in the Homeric hymns to Hermes. It is written, "Born at dawn, by midday he played the lyre, and by evening he had stolen the cattle of Apollo. Already the child was devising deeds of cunning, deeds of the immortal gods. He sprang from the cradle, seeking cattle in the shadowy night, and found a tortoise. Of it he made a clear sounding lyre, and he sang sweetly to his own delight." Now in this text we see many different aspects to Hermes. As in, born at dawn, by midday he played the lyre, and by evening he had stolen the cattle of Apollo. This shows his speed. Instantaneously, right out of the womb, he is at it. He is busy, gotten things done, and knows who to do it to, which is quite impressive for someone not even a day old. I just guess we all have our different ambitions. Anyway, Hermes was born in a cave on Mount Cyllene in Arcadia, son of Zeus and to the nymph Maia, one of the Pleiades. In his early Mycenaean Greek name, Emaha, which later translates into Hermes, linked to Herma, means stone heap or boundary marker. And from his birth, Hermes found a tortoise and then created a lyre from, I think, his intestines or entrails, and played music with it. How talented. He also stole his half-brother Apollo's sacred cattle by nightfall, by disguising them and kind of putting these sandals on their feet and making them walk backwards. So then, which I don't know how you would find the time to do such a thing, but hey, I'm not a Greek god. I don't know. And that's kind of one of the reasons I gave him a mustache, kind of gave him this trickster genius look, because that's kind of what he got known for, as being clever, mischievous, but also, he reconciled gifting Apollo the lyre and, stuff. So he made his dues and paid off stuff. He also helped a lot of people later on. But I love the fact that he was kind of mischievous. He was kind of a low-key character. And a lot of people might know Hermes from his winged cap, which is the Petassos, or his winged shoes or sandals, which is Delaria, and the Catasis, the staff that has the two snakes, symbolizing peace and mediation and stuff, And a side note, I switched to the 0.3 point size pen for the smaller, thinner lines to give more depth to him, and as much shading as I could, because I wanted his face to be more bright and white and instead of so much dark shadows. Let that for more of the back end of his body. But yeah, and I switched in between that and the .05 Molotow black liner. Now, Hermes wasn't known for his warrior-like tendencies and armor and stuff, but I really wanted to draw a chain armor on him, and that's, it came in handy there. It's a great texture as well as it looks good on any kind of soldier or a character of this nature. As Hermes was known for creating speech, alphabet, language in the lyre, which makes Hermes one of the more dynamic gods to not only draw, but to see his character being played out, because he is known as a protector and the trickster, witty, cunning, eloquent, but also merciful and helpful. I thought as a kid that Hermes was more of this messenger, quick, Flash kind of character, which I think Flash from the comic books and other speedy characters were kind of resembling him. That's probably why they used the wing symbolism and stuff. But I always liked him because he felt like a fast and flying character. But he also had this strong type to him where he lulled on Argus Panoptes, the 100-eyed giant, into a sleep, and then he slew him down. He took him out. For this, he was giving the epithet Argiophontes, Slayer of Argus, which is pretty dope because that means he had to be pretty. Fighting 100 eyes, how do you get around the guy, right? But Hermes also did other things, like he gave Perseus the winged sandals and the helm of invisibility to face Medusa. Yeah, couldn't have done it without that. And he gave Odysseus the herb of moly to resist Circe's magic. Very helpful. And he guided King Priam through the Greek camp in the Iliad to ransom Hector's body, which is a great part of the movie Troy. You're like, Brad, what will you do? Will you be kind? And Hermes also had an artistic side, where he was also linked to Daphnis, the Sicilian shepherd credited with inventing pastoral poetry, showing his influence over the arts, which is cool. He's got a inner touch self kind of thing going on while he's slaying 100-eyed monsters. I wonder how that poem goes. Hermes also became the Psychopomp, which is a really cool name. But he guided souls of the dead into Hades, one of the few gods who could move freely between Olympus, Earth, and the underworld. And you can find other characters like this in Egyptian mythology with Anubis. You can find it in Norse mythology with the Valkyries, Christianity with the angels, and many other religions have similar characters that do this role. Now, a quick pause from Hermes. I've been using this drawing gum, and it's quite fantastic. It dries quickly, it comes off easily. It's a great way to block out certain white parts of the paper when you're about to color. Highly recommend it. It's working out great here for the stars and the rocks. And even though I covered up the ones that I did draw, I would just dot the ones that I didn't draw too. And it came out fantastic, just rolling it all off and having just only the paint over it. Highly recommended. But he wasn't known as the super powerful god. He was kind of like the everyday god. He presided over merchants, traders, and travelers, but also over thieves, gamblers, and athletes. So he kind of had it all. He was like, yeah, I'm the god of all people. They love me, yeah. So he was really cool in that way. And that's why I drew him with this very mischievous kind of look and fantasy vibe going to him through this wormhole of time to travel, to take a message somewhere. Hermes had a pretty big cult following, and especially in Arcadia, where he had stone pillars called Hermes line the roads and the markets in Athens. He even had a festival called Hermea, where he celebrated the athletic contest for youth, which sounds pretty fun. And he didn't really require blood sacrifices and stuff. He only required honey, cakes, pig, goats, and lambs. Okay, maybe a little bit of blood sacrifice, but the honey and cakes seems possible. And which kind of makes me wonder, that's a lot of animals that are being sacrificed for rituals or ceremonies or for everything, pretty much daily in all cultures. That that is a big issue. Yeah. And in later Roman traditions, he became the god Mercury, god of trade, profit, and swiftness, merchandise, And his great temple stood in Rome's Circus Maximus. That's pretty cool. The Romans. And right here, I'm filling in most of this galaxy with black, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to like really represent it without it getting lost in translation. So I have the clouds and the galaxy particles coming out of the wormhole to kind of give that 3D effect. Now, whether it came off correctly, who knows? And when researching about Hermes, I don't think I ever found a real solution or a reason why he was granted these winged shoes and helmet to be the only Olympian that was able to travel between Olympus, Earth, and the underworld, where no other Olympian had that freedom. So that's kind of like I need some story or backstory to this. I think it was because Hermes was considered one of the psychopomp, the guide of souls, so he could travel everywhere he needed to be. But also he had Zeus's trust, so he had the ability to do so. But then that doesn't fall into line with, him coming right out of the womb and doing all the things that he could do. But I imagine out of all the gods, he was the neutral god. So they needed a neutral god to be able to be the messenger between all of them and accomplish all these things. But then he was able to, use his sword and slay a 100-eye creature and do all these other cool things. So I don't know, Greek mythology, wild stuff. I think it'd be pretty cool to have a drawing of Hermes fighting Argus. Just a showdown. This 100-eyed monster versus Hermes that is flying around with his weapon and stuff. And the verdict still stands. Hermes is still the coolest Greek god. And as I try to put the fine detailing into the background and some of the finer parts of Hermes, I'm trying to build contrast and separation from each other so that there is layers to this drawing. And, the thickness of lines definitely helps. And here I am trying to give some more black to the top of the page where it's very absent. Where I could have just done all the night sky black and then done the dots on it. But then I was just like, that's like so obvious. And I'm doing that right here in the wormhole thing that's going on. But anyways, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe and the notification button as well. If you want to hang out with other artists and learn some tips and tricks to doing art and inking, head over to my Discord. All the links will be in my description down below. But thank you for watching. This is Hermes. And if you're creative, go create.